Hello and welcome to this third basics video, and welcome to World of Warships. And this is going to be a video about destroyers, which in my opinion, but that's a personal opinion, this is the nicest class of ships to play, at least it is for me. I really like these close range dogfighting, knife fighting, torpedo launching ships, and especially the Russian ones are totally in my well, they're totally for me. They were especially built for me, I sometimes feel like. So destroyers, well, there's different lines of destroyers, of course. You can see that the Japanese have two lines, starting at tier 5 actually. Now up to tier 8. There's going to be a new tier 9 and 10, and this line has a bigger focus on guns than on torpedoes, and the original line has more has a bigger focus on torpedoes. And especially if we look at the tier 10, it's got torpedoes. Well, it's got 3 different types of torpedoes you can mount. It's got torpedoes with a range of 20 kilometers or slightly less, and quicker torpedoes, but it's got very long range torpedoes. And this ship gets spotted from 7.1 kilometers. You can upgrade your ship with some modules and also train your captain with some skills, and it will actually go down to below 6 kilometers. So you can spot a lot of different ships around the enemy map, and that is one of the tasks you have as a destroyer. You are the spotter. You are the one that is providing the reconnaissance and is providing the intel, so your teammates can fire at the enemy ships. If you're continuously in smoke, and smoke is one of the skills that a destroyer, or one of the things a destroyer can use, if you're continuously in smoke, you're not spotting a lot, so it's not good for you to stay in smoke the whole game. The American destroyers is the next country. Are more like knife fighting and gunboats. These were my favorite destroyers before Russia came along. Japan and America were the only 2 countries that they started with. So these were really my favorites. And especially the Clemson up here. This really is a gem at tier 4. It's got good guns. It's got 8 guns actually. It's got 4 gun turrets with all dual guns. And it's got 12 torpedo launchers, 12 torpedo tubes. It hasn't got very long range torpedoes, as you can see, 5.5 kilometers, and it gets spotted from 6.8 kilometers. You can get that down if you have a better captain than this, but still your torpedoes won't go further than your spotting range. So every time you fire your torpedoes, you will be spotted. And these really are the ambush destroyers. If you come up to an island and you know that there's an enemy coming around the corner, or actually you're sailing around the corner, you can really ambush enemy ships like that. And that is really what I like a lot. And a lot of the times you can see that the enemies are focusing on your guns, and they're really forgetting the fact that you also have torpedoes and that they can actually do a lot of damage. So I really liked the American destroyers. That's why I'm at tier 9 as well. Which is further than the Japanese. But then the Russians came along, and they are the quickest ships in the game. A lot of these will actually go faster than 40 knots, which is really, really fast. And then on top of that, you can use speed boost. I have sailed at 46.5 knots and speeds like that. That is really crazy. It's a really fast ship. But the downside is that up to tier 7, these torpedoes are all still 4 kilometers, and only once you get up to tier 8 you can get 8 kilometer torpedoes. And the Ognify actually gets 10 kilometer torpedoes, but these torpedoes can only be fired at 4 kilometers, and as you can see, the detectability or the concealment isn't really good. You're actually going to be within spotting range for a very long time before you can fire these torpedoes. So these were at some point described as American destroyers on steroids, but at the same time, the caliber guns on these ships are devastating, and I really like them. Plus, they're really fast ships. You can see that this ship actually goes at 43 knots. That is without a signal flag that will increase the speed even more, and without speed boost, this ship can get up to 47 knots, like, well, without any problem. So I really like these ships. At some point, the Russian destroyer line was split at tier 8. You can see that here. This one used to be the tier 9 on the main line. This is a new ship, the Grozavoy. This one used to be the tier 8. This one used to be the tier 7. This is a new ship. This one used to be the tier 5, and this is also a new ship. And this one used to be the tier 6. And that was a really different ship back then. It was so bad that I actually skipped this ship. But now that it is at tier 8, it is actually rebuilt, and it's a lot better. I like this ship as well. I only sold it because I needed the credits to get one of the higher tier ships. And I still think that the Kiev is better because it's got more guns. Then there's the German ships. Up to tier 4, they are really funny with forward launching torpedoes. You can see that here. They have 2 torpedo tubes here at the front, and they can almost fire directly to the front. And these of course fire to the sides. And they also have the quickest reload on torpedoes. They don't have the fastest torpedoes, they don't have the torpedoes with the most damage, but they do have the biggest and quickest reload. These are really destroyers that are very versatile. You can use them as gunboats, and you can use them as torpedo boats, and I really liked these. Though the T-22 at tier 5, it looks like more like a tugboat than a destroyer, as you can see. But at tier 6, you get something that you can see with the premium tier 7 destroyer as well, and the regular tier 8. You can actually choose between the 128mm guns or the 150mm guns. And though it says artillery rating goes up 12 points, it doesn't mean that this is actually something you should do, because it does change the playstyle of the destroyer a lot. You will be able to damage cruisers a lot more, and if you select armor-piercing shells, you might actually get citadel hits on cruisers, which are devastating. But at the same time, they'll fire a lot slower, and that might hurt you in a gunfight with another destroyer. Plus, with another destroyer, you might actually overpen, so shoot a hole straight through the ship that goes straight through it without damaging anything on the way. So this might not be a good thing for you. Just make sure you try both of them and pick the one that fits your playstyle. But the German destroyers, I really like those as well. I'm looking forward to the English destroyers, which are going to be coming at some point. This is the Gallant, which at the moment is one of the 2 destroyers, one of the 2 British destroyers in the game. And these get to single launch their torpedoes, so you can actually spread it out more, or you can actually fire all your torpedoes following the same line. If there's an enemy ship that is beached, you can actually hit it with 8 torpedoes, and that is great fun. But for the rest, this is not really special ship. I like it, but it's not really that special for me. But I am looking forward to the regular Tech Tree destroyers of the UK. Then we have the Pan-Asian ships, which is a little strange because this ship used to be in the People's Republic of China Navy. And you have the Loyang, which was in the Navy of the Republic of China, which is a different country, you know. And the Pan-Asian ships, well, all these ships were built at most of it at Western shipyards, so European or American shipyards, and at some point were sold to, well, China, or in this, I think this one was sold to Indonesia. Yep, this was built for the British Navy, transferred to the Royal Netherlands Navy in the Second World War, and after the Second World War, it was transferred to Indonesia. So these are all different countries, but they are really fun players. Really fun destroyers. Most of them are built as a gunboat. They do have good torpedoes, and there's something special with their torpedoes. If you look at these, it can only strike cruisers, battleships, and aircraft carriers. These are deep water torpedoes. They will go deeper in the water, and they'll just pass underneath a ship like this, because a destroyer will not be as deep in the water as the other ships, which will also make sure that these torpedoes aren't spotted from very far away. It actually becomes easier to hit something with these torpedoes than with regular torpedoes. Plus they do a lot of damage. Sometimes they actually hit the ship underneath its torpedo protection belt. So you do loads of damage with it, but you can't use them against enemy destroyers. So you do have to be sufficient in fighting other destroyers with your guns. Otherwise you're not going to be a happy camper in ships like this. So that's the Pan-Asian destroyers, and I'm looking forward to well, to the rest of the line. I'm only at tier 6. Then there's a French destroyer as well. I'm not sure if there's going to be a French destroyer line, but this is a very interesting ship because it's got the biggest guns mounted on ships. Well, except for the Germans, of course. But this really is a destroyer, if you get what I mean. In my cruiser video, I said there's some crossover ships. Well, this is one of those. This actually comes close to being a cruiser with the amount of guns it has, but also the size it has, the amount of hit points it has. It's actually a very sturdy ship that way. It's not really got a lot of armor, as you can see, but the hit points itself, it's a pretty sturdy ship. It can take a lot of damage before it's taken out. Then there's another crossover ship like this. The story behind this one was that the Russians needed more cruisers, and they actually built these ships, or actually they didn't build them. They researched ships like this to take the place of cruisers. You can see that it's actually a very strange looking ship, but it's a fun ship as well. 2 guns on the front and 5 on the rear. This is really one of those ships that's, well, it's a really strange ship. It's got 12 torpedoes, loads of guns, and it's fun. You can see some of the bigger ships, like the Khabarovsk here. This actually gets really close to a cruiser as well, but also in armor. This is actually a very well armored destroyer. It's got 50 millimeters, and a lot of the ships just have 19 or 16 millimeters of armor, and this one actually can take a lot of hits as well. So yeah, this gets close to being a light cruiser. Anyway, I think that's enough talk. Let's just get one destroyer. I'll get into the Clemson and do one co-op battle again. Well, here we are loading into a game again, and as you can see, there's no battleships here. There's one aircraft carrier on every team, of course, because the teams are exactly the same. And there's loads of destroyers. There's 2 Isokazes, which are Japanese destroyers, and 1 Shenyang. I don't have to worry about this because I will be able to take him out with my torpedoes, and he won't be able to take me out with his. So that's going to be fun. I'm just going to steam ahead and see if I can take the D cap over there, and see what happens when we get there. We have a pink player on the team again. Oh, that one over there is actually a bot as well. That happens as well if you play this. If you play ships like, if you play co-op battles, if there's not enough players in the queue, it will just fill up with other ships. As you can see, that one is a bot. That one is a bot. So we've got 3 bots on our teams, and the enemy team is only bots, of course. Nothing is capping yet. One of the important things, or one of the most important things with destroyers is awareness. As you can see, I'm being detected at the moment by that ship over there, by the Shenyang. And he was firing his torps this way. Why was that? I haven't got a clue. But let's get my guns out. Well, that was that. As you can see, he was taken out by the torpedoes. But then again, so was our destroyer. And I have to make sure I watch out for his torpedoes, because they might be able to take me out as well. Well, he didn't get his torpedoes out before I got mine out, so that's a good thing. Running into an island sometimes can be used to stop your ship really quickly, or to make sure that you actually avoid torpedoes. But so far our team is doing well. I was going to say well, but I see we've lost 2 destroyers and they've lost 2 destroyers, so we're not really doing better than they are. Plus the enemy's Svetlana over there that's coming this way. He's actually in the cap, so we're not capping, and the enemy team already took cap A. So at the moment we're losing. They lost one of their destroyers. We've lost our last destroyer, except for me. So let's make sure that we take out this Svetlana as soon as possible. I'm only firing HE at him, so high explosive shells. And that's because my armor piercing will not do a thing from this angle. So the Svetlana is taken out. That's a good thing. Now we can continue capping this, and then I'll go focus on that Isokaza over there. I think I'm going to have to give it a little more lead. That looks like it's better. And he's slowing down now. Oh, Karlsruhe. You can see that one of the other really important things is that you never fire your torpedoes when they're out of range, if they can't hit anything. Well, my torpedoes are 5.5 kilometer range, and he was at 5.7 or 5.6 when I fired them. But then again, he was sailing in my direction, so there's a very big chance that I'm actually going to be able to hit him with my torpedoes, though I fired them when he was still out of range. But I see a lot of people actually firing their torpedoes at targets that they will never reach. And of course that's that's not going to do a thing. So I think that was that. Yep. Karlsruhe taken out. Now, where's the... the Isokaza on their team is already gone. Well, as you can see, there's a lot of things that a destroyer can do. And one of those things is killing other ships with torpedoes. And that is really fun. Sometimes you have these games in which you don't hit a thing. Because there is a chance that... well, in general, let's put it this way. The Russian and American destroyers don't have a very good concealment rating, so they'll be spotted by the enemy before you can spot the enemy. And if you're really unlucky and you go to a certain spot where you can't actually see your enemy yet, but they can see you, then it's going to be very hard for you to dodge all that fire coming towards you. And you might get killed at the start of the game, and that's not fun, of course. But then again, sometimes you do get games in which you actually everything works out the way you're planning it, or actually maybe not planning, but it just all works out, and you get a little lucky as well, and you can get tons of damage. My highest damage games have always been in destroyers, and that's why I really love the Russian destroyers as well. Well, that's why my first tier 10 was a Russian destroyer. My second tier 10 was the other Russian destroyer. Destroyers really are my type of gameplay. I really love that. I do like the history of the battleships, and I do like to play battleships and cruisers as well. But really, if I have to pick one type of ship that I really enjoy playing the most, it is destroyers. Anyway, only an aircraft carrier left. I think he's going to be dead before I actually get into range, so I can hit him. But then again, they're not really going that fast, killing him. They're taking their time. I had the feeling he was going to be taken out by that single torpedo, but he wasn't. That's a good thing. Well, that was that. Let's see. So as you can see, we did less damage there in the last game, but then again, we're a destroyer. We're supposed to do a lot of damage, but then again, when the rest of the enemy team does it, you don't get to shine. That's the thing. If you really want to play well, you better hope for a bad team. Sometimes. Because that will allow you to shine. But if you have a really good team, sometimes the battle will be over before you actually notice. But still, this wasn't a really bad game. I'm second in experience. Not bad at all. I got some credits and detailed report. Well, I killed 2 ships, which is not bad, of course. And got some credits. Overall, a nice game. I hope this was useful playing or on how to play a destroyer. There's different ways to play destroyers, and of course every single line has its own characteristics, and the further you go up the line, the more it sort of crystallizes, if you get what I mean. At tier 10 you really have the top ship on that line, and the playstyle will work its way up to tier 10 with every single ship. So if you get up to tier 10 with the American destroyers, it will look a lot like the ones on tier 4, but it's more into the extreme, if you get what I mean. So well, I really like destroyers. It's my favorite class. I hope you like them as well. And I hope this video was very useful for you. If it was, please consider giving it a like. If it wasn't, let me know as well. Subscribe if you want to. And well, I hope to see you next time. Goodbye.